Well, good morning, church. How y'all doing? If you look at your order of service, you'll see that there's an addition today. By very special request, I am going to be playing Remember When by Alan Jackson in celebration of Dale and Nancy Avery's 52nd wedding anniversary. So, without further ado, Remember When by Alan Jackson.
All right, please join us in singing I've Got Peace Like a River. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Well, I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for that. Great, beautiful start to our service today. We're going to have some wonderful music today, so as usual, the music is going to steal the show, which is just fine with me. But want to begin, as always, by welcoming you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and live justly. So welcome, as always, to each and every one of you. We embrace all that you come with this morning, all of your uniqueness, your beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences, all that helps make you who you are. And this, of course, includes those in the room with us as well as those who are live streaming with us today. We'll have an unusually sparse crowd first service because one of the announcements I'm going to make is that our annual meeting is happening after our second service today at 12:30, so most of our members will come for that. So we will need a quorum in order to conduct business, so we appreciate those who will show up for that. Also, want to ask those who can to please plan to participate in our church's presence during next Saturday's Pride Parade. The details as to when to line up and where to line up will be in this week's Sun, the Spokane UU News that is emailed out on Thursday, so please look for that. All right, I have, this is the first service, so doggy truth. We like to always share a little thought for our canine companions. So I'm going to do two today, one that's kind of funny. This is by someone named Franklin Jones. It says that anybody who doesn't know what soap tastes like never washed a dog. And here's one that's takes a minute. Yeah. And this is from C.J. Frick, which I just like. It's a nice little sentiment. Be the person that your dog thinks you are. Okay, let's take a few moments this morning to greet one another. You make sure you have your smartwatches on so you can get your steps in this morning as you go from person to person. completely unnecessary. All I do is get out of the way of great people. That's all I do. Well, thank you. And congratulations on 5 years, too. That's 4.5 years. Wow. Unbelievable. Wow, you guys were already quiet by the time I hit that today. All right, let's move forward now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Courage in the face of challenges to free speech is one of the most critical virtues in a functioning democracy. It's not simply about defending speech one agrees with, but standing firm when that speech is unpopular, inconvenient, or even offensive, and that takes real backbone. So here are a few key thoughts. Free speech requires moral courage. It's easy to support free speech when it aligns with popular opinion. True courage is tested when defending the rights of those with whom we fundamentally disagree. Think of people like Frederick Douglass or Voltaire, who championed the idea that the freedom to speak is meaningless unless it includes speech that offends or challenges the status quo. Secondly, the cost of silence. History shows that when individuals or institutions back down from defending free speech due to fear, whether of censorship, social backlash, or political retribution, the space for dialogue shrinks. And this chilling effect doesn't just affect controversial thinkers, it discourages ordinary people from voicing their views. Third, balance and responsibility. Defending free speech doesn't mean endorsing hate or harm. There's a necessary tension between courageously defending expression and responsibly addressing its consequences. Courage, in this sense, is not recklessness, but a principled stand in favor of liberty, guided by ethical awareness. And lastly, today's challenges are subtle. Today's threats to speech often come not from governments, but from social or economic pressures, and deplatforming, self-censorship, and cancel culture. Standing up in these contexts often means risking reputation, livelihood, or relationships, but courage here remains just as essential.
All right, please sing with us 134, Our World is One World.
Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate we make a bridge or a wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor. to stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
Thank you. That's one of my favorite hymns. We haven't sung it for a while, so I appreciate that. We're now going to kindle our candles of care, and let's start with a candle of celebration. As you heard, Nancy and Dale Avery are celebrating their 52nd anniversary tomorrow, June 9th, so congratulations to them, and thank you for playing that song upon their request, Alan Jackson. And we are going to kindle a candle, as we have been, on behalf of the people of Ukraine and Russia and that region of the world suffering from the war and violence there, as well as the people of Israel and the Palestinians who are suffering atrocities there. And I cannot help, of course, but kindle a candle this morning for the protesters in LA, angry about ICE's actions there, to which the president, do I have to say it, has now sent troops to keep them under control, National Guardsmen. So unbelievable, this is happening on the streets of America, but so much for making America great again. Anyway, it's very upsetting, so I'm not going to get through our candles with that at least. Shining a light. You know, what is the saying? Better to light one candle than curse the darkness. So there it is. Let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And, you know, there's such a small crowd, rather than walking around with a basket, why don't we just have the basket out after the service, and if anybody has something you want to contribute, please put it in the basket. We certainly appreciate your generosity. We need all we can get. If you're streaming online, you go on our website and contribute if you can. But no sense being so conspicuous, right? When there's just a handful of people, you're like, well, go ahead. Are you going to put something in? Everybody's watching. Everybody can see you. A lot of folks, of course, contribute in other ways. So we'll just wasted a lot of time explaining why we're doing that, but we're doing it. But we're still going to have our extraordinary offertory music. So,
hi there. I'm Maggie. For those of you that don't know me, I've been songwriting for a little over a year now. And this first song I'm going to play is about a time when I was really low, and I kind of realized that there's only one way you can go. And the song's called Up.
I've been living life like a feather, fighting my way down every turn. I've been trying to avoid the inevitable, as if I could escape a crash and burn. Daily struggle with the voices in my head, telling me you'll never be enough. Doubt creeps into the corners of my mind, whispering you won't amount to much of anything at all. wanna take me down? Well, I'm already down. You wanna watch me burn? I'm on fire. You wanna see me fall and hit the ground? Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I'm already down. The only way out from here is up. With all my self-destructive tendencies, I tend to be my own worst enemy. And if I feel a shred of joy, an impending doom consumes me to the core. As I reach the top of a mountain, all I can see is how far I'll fall. When I look around in my life, I struggle to find I've made it to where I want it to be. All alone. You wanna take me down? Well, I'm already down. You wanna watch me burn? I'm on fire. You wanna see me fall and hit the ground? Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I'm already down. The only way out from here is up. I'm looking forward to finding my confidence. I'm looking forward to putting that voice to rest. I'm looking forward, I'm not looking back. I wanna leave this toxic wasteland of my mind. I wanna leave it all behind. You wanna take me down? Well, I'm already down. You wanna watch me burn? I'm on fire. You wanna see me fall and hit the ground? Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I'm already down. The only way out from here is up. You wanna take me down? Well, I'm already down. You wanna watch me burn? I'm on fire. You wanna see me fall and hit the ground? Well, I hate to disappoint you, but I'm already down. The only way out from here is up. Oh, I hate to disappoint you, but I'm already down. The only way out from here is up.
Thank you.
To reiterate Todd's point, when the music is like this, our words are just blah, 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 like the Charlie Brown character. Thank you so much, Maggie. All right, well, this morning I'm going to speak to you about Play Club, which, I'll bring this down a little, may have special interest to people at the first service because it's something that only asks you to give of your time during the second service. Imagine sitting with the friend in the shade of a big tree, enjoying a chat while you watch children scale the play structure, discover one of nature's hidden treasures, or invent a new kind of tag game. The sun warms your skin as the smell of your coffee mixes with the scent of pine. Memories of your own childhood adventures bring a smile to your face. That's what volunteering at Sunday Play Club might feel like. Today is our last Sunday of Children's Chapel, because next week we will start our 4th season of Play Club. By now, I'm sure you've heard about Jonathan Haidt's new book, The Anxious Generation. In it, he proposes more unsupervised play and childhood independence as a solution to the phone-based childhood that is robbing our children of opportunities to flourish. Several years ago, with Lenore Skenazy and others, Haidt formed the Let Grow organization, which defines Play Club as a mixed-stage, unstructured free play without adult direction or interference. There are just 3 rules to Play Club. Number 1, play respectfully. Do not deliberately hit or physically hurt another child. Rule number 2, get permission to leave the grounds. Rule number 3, listen to the adults who will intervene only when they must. As a Play Club supervisor, your job is simple. Be on hand for actual emergencies, but otherwise just disappear from the children's awareness. Kids are pretty good at playing, and they'll probably negotiate any conflicts in a way that keeps the fun going. Supervising Play Club as a volunteer is a no-prep, low-commitment way to support the flourishing of children in our church community. You can sign up to volunteer for one Sunday this summer, many Sundays this summer, or no Sundays, and maybe consider donating to our snack fund. And know that you'll be making a big difference. A digital sign-up form is linked in the Sun newsletter that will come out on Thursday, and there's also a paper sign-up in the RE table in the foyer. Please let me know if you have any questions, and happy summer.
As we move into a time of meditation, I want to welcome you to find a comfortable position. Put your feet on the floor. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a deep breath in and just let go of the chaos around you. Reflect on these words of Sharon Salzberg. Compassion is the strength that arises out of seeing the true nature of suffering in the world. Compassion allows us to bear witness to that suffering, whether it is in ourselves or others, without fear. It allows us to name injustice without hesitation and to act strongly with all the skill at our disposal.
Life and stress and day to day, and then trying to come back to what's really important, and things like nature and human connection. It's called Hold On to Time. For the moment when the stars lost their shine, they got reduced down to nothing more than a way to mark the passing of time. And what about the days when you could live in your daydreams without waking up lost to a cold and a harsh reality? So let's just sit here in the silence of the night. We can breathe in the seconds as they happen and not mourn the ones that pass by. And these moments of nothingness, they'll be of a different kind. Maybe if we just sit here long enough, we can hold on to time. Close your eyes and you'll see yourself singing in a field of wildflowers, where the grass was always greener and
I've never felt freer than in those hours. And if you think back far enough, can you see the creek behind the house, where the water was the only one who was rushing to get back home? So let's just sit here in the silence of the night. We can breathe in the seconds as they happen and not warn the ones that pass by. And these moments of nothingness, they won't be like before. But maybe if we just sit here long enough, we can hold on to time. Ooh, 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 ooh. I can remember the moments when I watched the stars shine, and they meant so much more to me than a way to mark the passing of time. And I still have days when I'm living in my daydreams, but you wake me up gently and you hold me in your loving arms. So let's just sit here in the silence of the night. We can breathe in the seconds as they happen and not mourn the ones that pass by. And these moments of nothingness, they'll be of a different kind. But maybe if we just sit here long enough, we can hold on to time. Ooh, 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 ooh.
I don't even know what to say. You are so talented. I can't believe you got up and said you've been writing songs for about a year. Right? I mean, these are like top-notch, beautiful human sentiments that we can all relate to. And I mean, you're incredibly talented. Your voice is beautiful. And at the same time, you shared your soul with us, you know, I mean, right down to your depth, to your sorrow, to your hopefulness. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm speaking on the freedom of speech, college campuses, and pro-Palestinian protesters. Quite a lot. And a big topic. I'm going to begin by just reminding you that although most of what's written in the Torah about the origins of the Jewish people is mythology, not history, those who over the centuries have identified as such have never had it easy, including having endured the most horrific act of genocide in human history, resulting, as we know, in the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews. Today, there's still much prejudice and ill will in the world toward Jewish people, including here in the U.S. Last week, an assailant in Boulder, Colorado, used a homemade flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to attack a group of Jews demonstrating on behalf of the Israeli hostages. Although the man charged in this horrendous crime is a foreign national, both the men responsible for the murder of 2 Israeli embassy workers outside the Capitol Jewish Museum a couple of weeks ago, and for the arson attack against Pennsylvania's Jewish governor, Josh Shapiro, and his family on the eve of Passover last month, are U.S. citizens. Unlike the Holocaust, however, it should be understood that all 3 of the men responsible for these inexcusable crimes claim to have done so in retaliation for the state of Israel's injustices against Palestinians. To simply label their acts as anti-Semitism, akin to the racist scapegoating that occurred in Nazi Germany and elsewhere over the centuries, is to ignore and divert our attention away from the more than 50,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, mostly women and children, who have been indiscriminately killed at the hands of the Israeli military, along with over 100,000 others who have been wounded. To be clear, Israel's actions are in response to the Hamas attacks of October 7, 2023, that resulted in the cold-blooded murder and torture of more than 1,250 innocent Jewish people and the capture of hundreds of Jewish hostages. But Israel's response has literally been overkill. Both the International Criminal Court and the United Nations have charged Israel with war crimes and crimes against humanity for this reason. They have reportedly bombed hospitals, killed aid workers and journalists, and routinely blocked food and medical supplies from reaching sick, injured, desperate, and starving Palestinian civilians. And before going further, I want to point out some of the informal fallacies being used to justify these obviously inhumane and illegal actions and conditions. When asked about these charges of war crimes, some U.S. politicians, along with Israel's own leadership, respond that Israel has a right to defend itself. Of course it does. Of course it does. And we could only expect that its response to the brutal and inhumane October 7 attacks would result in additional bloodshed and death, including many innocent civilians. But this reply is a straw man argument that subtly diverts the discussion to a different question than is being asked. The question is not, does Israel have a right to defend itself? The question is, does Israel have the right to commit war crimes and crimes against humanity by indiscriminately bombing civilians and then denying them humanitarian aid? The appropriate response to the first question is yes. But the answer to the real question is absolutely not. No wonder those seeking to justify these heinous, inhuman, criminal acts prefer to shift our attention to a question that nobody even needs to ask. Accusing those who remain focused on the real question of anti-Semitism, furthermore, is an ad hominem fallacy because it diverts attention away from the real question, again, in this case by demonizing whoever is asking it or pointing out the inhumane actions of Israel. After the ICC issued a warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's arrest last year, he said the decision cast shame on the court, that the court is a rogue prosecutor, and that it was an anti-Semitic decision, none of which addressed his own violent disregard for the lives of Palestinian civilians. These are ad hominem excuses rather than addressing the issue. A few years ago, after I committed to addressing the injustices that Israel has been perpetrating against the Palestinian people since 1948, Leaders of our local Jewish community warned me not to do so and told me that if I continued, there would be a problem. I did, and there was. And I am now labeled anti-Semitic by many and have zero relationship with my former Jewish friends and community cohorts. We have seen the same thing happening to college students around the U.S. who've been accused, I should say rather, who have exercised their free speech by engaging in pro-Palestinian demonstrations. They've been accused of being anti-Semitic, and now some colleges, including Harvard, are themselves accused of anti-Semitism for allowing these demonstrations to take place on their campuses. The real point of these absurd accusations, however, is not to stop anti-Semitism, but to stop the real question from being asked. Does Israel have the right to commit war crimes and crimes against humanity by indiscriminately bombing civilians and then denying them humanitarian aid? Or more pointedly, does Israel have the right to engage in ethnic cleansing? Or any of the other injustices against Palestinians it has engaged in for decades? Another error in thinking at play here is the fallacy of composition, which attributes the qualities of some members of a class to the entire class. This faulty way of thinking is the root of all prejudice and racism. Trump committed it when first running for office by suggesting that no immigrants should be allowed to enter the U.S. from Mexico because some of them are drug dealers, rapists, and criminals. Similarly, those responsible for the October 7 attack in Israel were Palestinians acting on behalf of Hamas, the militant Islamic resistance movement. But this does not mean that all Palestinians are members of Hamas, and it certainly doesn't mean that all Palestinians are responsible for that attack. Yet Israel seems to be holding all Palestinians responsible by not discriminating between innocent civilians and the militants it wants to eradicate. Likewise, to hold an entire university responsible for what some of its students say, and to hold all protesters responsible for the words of a few, is faulty reasoning, to say nothing of the fact that we're talking about protected speech to begin with. Even worse, of course, is to hold an entire class of people responsible for the actions of some individuals or subgroups within their class. All of these fallacies are meant to avoid certain questions and to discourage certain comments from ever being expressed. Ad hominem, in particular, is a scare tactic meant to make a public example of anyone who voices unwanted words. If they do, as I was warned, there will be a problem. I should add that defending the Palestinian people as a whole does not justify the horrific violence some Palestinians have engaged in against Israel and Jews living elsewhere, nor does it justify the brutal actions of those individuals involved in the heinous and indiscriminate crimes against Jews in the U.S. during these past weeks. To be pro-Palestinian does not mean to be against Israel. It certainly does not mean to be prejudiced against Jews. This is a false dichotomy. If one is fundamentally for humanity and for life, then one is for the humane treatment and welfare of all people and the peaceful resolution of conflict. This, by and large, was the purpose of the more than 120 protests that occurred on college campuses during 2024 in response to the relentless atrocities committed against scores of innocent Palestinians standing between Israel and Hamas. Such demonstrations always include some individuals who speak more passionately and even angrily than others, and who may say things not all participants agree with. But this is the nature of free expression, the right to say things that others disagree with. The overall goal of the student protesters, however, was for their universities to divest from companies supporting Israel, along with a few other demands specific to certain campuses. The legal questions emerged when student protesters began setting up encampments on campuses, right? Not just speaking, but setting up encampments, over 117 of them on 121 campuses, along with some occupying buildings and preventing other students and faculty reasonable access to their classrooms and other facilities. University administrators took various approaches to resolve the situation, resulting in approximately 18% of the schools partially agreeing to their demands, and to just over half of them forcibly removing the encampments. These forced removals also resulted in the arrests, suspensions, expulsions, and in some cases withholding of degrees for some of these student protesters. In many cases, Jewish students merely claiming that they felt unsafe have been the basis for charges of anti-Semitism against the protesters. To me, this is akin to the boy who cried wolf phenomenon. Claiming to feel unsafe in response to hearing things that one may disagree with has become rampant on today's campuses, as are requiring professors to give trigger warnings before saying anything that might disturb the sensitivities of a particular student, which makes it difficult to take such claims seriously. The few incidents of violence that have been documented appear to be the result of aggressive confrontations on both sides. An incident at UCLA in April of 2024, for example, occurred when a pro-Israel group allegedly attacked protesters, which has resulted in a lawsuit against the university for not adequately protecting the pro-Palestinian demonstrators. That same month, the New York Times published an article with the headline, "Some Jewish students are targeted as protests continue at Columbia." That sounds pretty serious. But the byline beneath it is much softer. And it just gets softer from there as you read the article. It says, after reports of harassment by demonstrators, some Jewish students said they felt unsafe. Others said they felt safe while condemning anti-Semitism. Doesn't quite jive with the headline, does it? The offenses that the article goes on to cite as examples of targeting Jewish students only describe speech, not actions. Some pro-Palestinian demonstrations on and around campus veered into harassment, it says, and protesters targeted some Jewish students with anti-Semitic vitriol, and verbal attacks left a number of the 5,000 Jewish students at Columbia fearful for their safety. But it doesn't tell us how many of the 5,000 students felt this way. Questioning the so-called lived experience of those who say they felt threatened but may not have actually been threatened is precisely what can get a person canceled these days, which I recognize I am in danger of again for doing right now. But these terms, felt unsafe, fearful, harassment, anti-Semitic vitriol, all given without citing anything that was actually said to anyone, let alone done to anyone, makes them spurious. In fact, the article itself goes on to admit some Jewish students who are supporting the pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campus said they felt solidarity, not a sense of danger, even as they denounced acts of anti-Semitism. Again, the article doesn't mention what acts it is referring to. At the very least, this discrepancy indicates the Times article is reporting on subjective experiences, not on objective truths. As one who again has been accused of making anti-Semitic comments simply for standing up for the dignity and humanity of Palestinians, as many have, and for harming others by saying things they disagree with, I am skeptical of any such claims without giving me examples. What was done? What was said? Yet today, the Trump administration is seeking to punish Harvard and Columbia universities, among others, for not having quickly stopped their students from speaking out on this issue, passionate, angry, and even inappropriate as some of their protected speech may have been. Less than 2 weeks ago, for example, Trump began threatening to withdraw billions in funding from Harvard, calling the prestigious university very anti-Semitic. According to a BBC report just 3 days ago, the Trump administration is also looking to strip Columbia University of its accreditation over claims it violated the civil rights of its Jewish students. And that his education secretary, Linda McMahon, said in a letter to New York City College that it acted with deliberate indifference towards the harassment of Jewish students in a manner that violated federal anti-discrimination laws. These should make interesting court cases if they ever get that far, since, as usual, the Trump administration offers no evidence for its claims, and because these universities are being accused of not doing something. In this case, of not controlling the free speech of others. When it comes to freedom of speech, U.S. courts are far more liberal than any other democracy in the world. Exceptions to such speech include harassment, terroristic threatening, inciting a riot, hate speech, slander, and libel, some of which are extremely hard to prove. Especially libel and defamation. You can hardly get a lawyer to take a case like that in the U.S. And there has to be real damages. It's not just a lie, right? If accusations of anti-Semitism should fall under the categories of harassment, terroristic threatening, or a hate crime, the courts will require evidence of such harm, real harm, not just hurt feelings or feeling threatened. That's not going to cut it. To be clear, there is nothing criminal about making negative or unwanted comments about other people. The American news media does it every day, 24/7. More germane to my topic, the freedom of speech movement was born on college campuses. And the right of their professors, faculty, and students to exercise such freedom has been repeatedly upheld by our highest courts. As far back as 1957, for example, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of an academic who had been jailed for refusing to answer questions about some of his lectures. Chief Justice Earl Warren explained, "The essentiality of freedom in the community of American universities is almost self-evident. No one should underestimate the vital role in a democracy that is played by those who guide and train our youth. To impose any straitjacket upon the intellectual leaders in our colleges and universities would imperil the future of our nation." Well, it's imperiled. In 1967, New York State had a law that effectively prohibited state employees from being members of the Communist Party. The State University of New York successfully sued over the matter because it was requiring employees to sign an oath stating that they were not communist. once again firmly guaranteeing the principle of academic freedom. And in 1972, the Supreme Court ruled again against Central Connecticut State College for refusing to recognize an on-campus chapter of the Students for a Democratic Society, a left-wing student activist organization, calling it unconstitutional and determining that the First Amendment applies to all public institutions. Hopefully, should these cases that Trump is proposing go that far, the Supreme Court will continue, please, to defend freedom of speech at Harvard and Columbia and other universities. Before Israel was established in 1948, Palestine was the home to Arabs, Jews, and Christians, all with ancient ties to that region. Though Jewish scriptures tell of escaped slaves led to a promised land, historians suggest the early Hebrews were likely a loose confederation of oppressed peoples who settled the hill country, gradually uniting their stories and forming a shared identity. Eventually, they were briefly unified under a leader named David, whose reign became the foundation for their messianic hope of restoration. Yet throughout history, Jews rarely controlled that land exclusively, living under successive empires, Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, and Roman. In fact, in 135 CE, after crushing a Jewish revolt, Rome renamed the region Palestine to sever Jewish ties to it. I mean, Palestine is, some of you heard me say before, the Roman pronunciation of Philistine or Philistine. So intentionally named it after the Judeans' biblical, at least legendary enemies. So that's what it's been for 2,000 years. And some Jews remained and likely assimilated with the evolving Palestinian population, while most were scattered throughout the world. And remarkably, despite centuries of exile and persecution, including the Holocaust, Jewish identity has endured. It really is a singular, remarkable story and a remarkable people. After World War II, Israel was founded in this same already inhabited region as a Jewish homeland, but only after displacing over 1 million Palestinians from their homes and cities whose ancestors had lived there for centuries. The resulting conflict has persisted ever since and is fueled by hostility from surrounding nations and enduring resentment against Jews around the world. The situation, of course, has worsened dramatically after the vile Hamas attacks of October 7th. But let me be clear, while Israel's own cruelty and injustice are partly responsible for such events, right, not finding a peaceful resolution to the existence of the Palestinians, the inhumanity of the actual perpetrators of these attacks cannot be justified as they were just defending themselves. Any more than this excuse can justify Israel's actions. The October 7 attackers were intentionally sadistic, without going into the stories, toward the innocent Jewish civilians, mostly kids enjoying a concert, who became the tragic victims of their diabolical, sick, twisted cruelties on that day. My concern for the lives and well-being of Palestinian people does not mean I regard these brutes with any less outrage than I hold for Benjamin Netanyahu and the soldiers carrying out war crimes and crimes against humanity on his behalf. Today, freedom of speech is under assault, including in the U.S. and other so-called free countries. There is tremendous pressure and serious political consequences to speaking about anything these days, but especially about the most important things, like what is and has been happening to Palestinians for more than half a century. Using our freedom of speech, our right to say what we believe is so about this and other important matters, too often takes great courage nowadays, the courage that you sing about. But as religious liberals, devoted to the principles that our democracies are supposed to be founded upon, we must find the courage to say, and more importantly, to do, what we can to foster human rights and human welfare everywhere. To paraphrase the great American revolutionary Thomas Paine, these are the times that try Unitarian souls. The summer Unitarian and the sunshine liberal will, in this crisis, shrink from their service to their great principles. But those that stand by them now deserve the love and thanks of all people everywhere. Today we are all living in trying, fearful, and uncertain times. Yet even as the world changes around us, we remain the same, because our values remain the same. And they shall be the compass in whatever storms may come, and our guiding star in the darkest of days. Thank you.
And we're going to sing We Shall Overcome. You could stand up.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome.
In closing, courage is a civic duty. Courageous individuals are often the thin line between democratic discourse and authoritarian drift. Whistleblowers, journalists, students, and citizens who speak out, especially when it's risky, help keep institutions and governments accountable and preserve a culture of open debate. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.